Are you just a photographer or a landscape photographer who respects and protects the special places we all love?
So good morning folks, it's a real joy to be out this morning because I've been trying to get to this location I'm going to today for a very long time. And it's not that it's hard to get to, but as a part-time landscape photographer, and I guess it's the same for enthusiast photographers as well, you can't really always go out exactly when you want to. There's the day job to think to, there's other commitments and other challenges of daily life that get in the way of photography. I was starting to think they should all be banned. But anyway, today I am getting to this location. Now, it's not so much the location that's hard to get to. I can go there most weekends if I wanted to. But the problem is that whenever I get there, the conditions that I want to get suddenly dissipate. And for this location, I want fog, thick fog, and it looks like I've got it today. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to have it for, so I don't know how many photographs I'm going to get, but I'm hoping I'm going to be able to really make something of this experience. But there's another problem as well, and that's another theme of this video that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the idea of, are you a landscape photographer or are you just a photographer in the landscape? So I've really wanted to photograph this location for a long time now, like I said, and it's a real delight to be here. These misty conditions are absolutely fantastic. They're exactly what I've been waiting for. I have an opportunity here to take a number of different photographs, and to enable me to do that, what I really want to do is have a range of different images, a range of different subjects all captured together. And my first image really needs to be about how I actually tie together the idea of this misty location to give you an overall view of it. Now, it's difficult to sort of capture an overall scene when your visibility is very limited, so we are just going for a section of it, but the subject which I've been looking at, I think you'll agree, is really good. So I need to crack on and take this photograph because I'm actually really worried that the conditions that we've actually got are going to lift and I'm not going to get the rest of my images, and those are going to be the real difficult ones. So let's get this one in the bag. One of the most difficult things I've had with setting up this composition is actually also getting the height of the camera right and coming back far enough so that actually we can get the ends of these trees in. It's deciding how much space is right, how much space is too much, and getting it right. I've also changed the camera now to a 16:9 crop. So we're taking some of the bottom off and some of the top as well, and that's giving it a better feel. When I post-process this, I may even actually decide to make it even more narrower, if that's even a saying, narrower than it is now, and hopefully that'll add to the effect of it. I think this is likely to either be a very low saturation, muted colour photograph, or maybe it'll just be a pure monochrome black and white with a lot of grey in it and a very subtle sort of feel. So we'll see how that goes. So let me take this photograph now, and you tell me what you think about it.
I thought it was important to take an overall view, but the finished photograph didn't really get across what I wanted to say. I stuck with the 16:9 crop. The flat grey post-processing did, however, start a theme for the whole shoot, and would lead me to capture exactly what I came for.
So I've wanted to photograph this location for a long time, and I've wanted to photograph it in these conditions. But the problem is with this setup, with the 24-105 zoom lens on it, I'm probably just not going to get close enough. Now, I hear you say that could be solved quite easily. You could just walk further into the woodland and get closer to your subject. And I've said it often before that if your photographs are not good enough, then you're probably not close enough. And of course, I've stolen that phrase from a very famous war photographer called Robert Capa. But it's true. Sometimes you just need to isolate the subject, and mist helps us do that. But still, in this conditions that we've got here, there's just too much tangle and too much confusion. And really, some of the subjects I want to photograph are too far away. So the solution here is to put a long lens on, and it's not to walk in closer. And the reason is this: I wanted to talk to you also about the difference between being a landscape photographer and being a photographer in the landscape. And the number of times I've gone to the landscapes and I've looked around and I've seen people taking photographs, and unknowingly they're causing irreparable damage to some of these landscapes. This place on Dartmoor National Park, it's actually got signs up on the way into it before you get there requesting that you walk around and you don't actually go into the landscape. But I'm sure people are still doing it. This landscape has taken thousands and thousands of years to develop into the beauty that it is now. And there's many hundreds, if not thousands, of species of moss and lichen on these trees, which just cannot be replaced. So we're going to photograph it in the way that I want to photograph it. We're still going to take the photographs that I want, but we're going to use our skills as landscape photographers to actually make that possible. And the way I'm going to do it is by putting on a 70 to 300 zoom lens and isolating those little pieces, those little parts of the woodland from the outside, which I just really want to capture. So let's get the lens set up. Right, okay, so I think I've probably got my first photograph roughly sort of set up how it is, and I certainly know the subject that I'm going to be taking. It's just deciding how close I want to go in. And one of the advantages of doing this in the mist and setting it up in this way is also that actually with the longer lens, it sort of seems to sort of help the impact of the mist and sort of makes things come to life a little bit more. So I'm going to get the tripod and set up and take this photograph here, and we'll see what that's like. I'll talk to you a bit more about the composition when the camera's on the tripod. So for this first photograph, I've actually set the camera up in the square format, and the reason that I've done that is because I tend to like to put together images as projects sometimes. So what I'm probably going to do with this is maybe see if I can get enough pictures together to put it into a 3x3 grid. I don't know if that's possible. If it's not possible, then we just may end up with a triptych or just a nice set of images to go away with. And it's all going to come down to really how long I can spend here and how long the mist is going to hang around for. But this photograph I'm really quite pleased with. So let me talk you through it, and partly why I've come up with that square composition as well. You'll see in the frame that actually there's a number of branches and trunks sort of coming in and out at various angles, and by going to the square format I was able to avoid these sort of exiting at the corners as well, and it also enabled me to zoom in a bit closer to crop out some of the edges of the frame, which are a little bit distracting and not really focusing on this tree. There's a number of different elements going on here. We've got the fantastic growth on the tree itself, but we've also got that wonderful sort of Y-shaped branch at the top left-hand corner, and I like the way that top left then gives a diagonal going down to that mossy green boulder on the right-hand side. Again with this, is it going to be colour? Is it going to be black and white? I'm not 100% sure. But I want to make these images so they look all the same when they're processed. So I'll process them together as a set of images and try and get something really interesting out of that. So I'm really pleased with this. The other thing I've been doing as well is because I'm using the long lens, you know, there's a lot of vibration that's possible even by just pressing and using the shutter button. So I always use my cable release and with a 2-second timer as well, which just gives me enough time to let things settle down, use the cable release so we don't disturb the camera, and take some more pictures. I'm really pleased with today's going. I've been waiting for these conditions now for such a long time. Have a look at this photo, see what you think. I'm going to take another one because I'm sure there's a huge number of images out there that I can capture. I did not know if the fog would linger long enough to capture the set of images I wanted, but in quick succession I ploughed through the second, third and fourth photographs. My second was processed in a similar way to the first image, holding back the shadows and highlights, creating a low contrast grey image. With a slight change in position, the camera revealed more interesting shapes in the woodland. Like the previous images, I reduced the clarity in post-processing to enhance the softness of the fog. Zooming from 170mm to make this photograph at 300mm increases the dominance of the trees as they meet.
A style of editing came out as I took these images. It suits the subject and really does portray the way the woodland felt and looked. But I can't help but think some of you would dislike them all the same.
I've come and taken a number of images now which have all worked really quite well as squares, and I've gone to take this one as a square, but I'm not entirely sure that it's going to work in this set of images. So my dream of having a nice set to put on one page may not actually happen, and that's partly because the complexities of this location are such that getting compositions together is really quite hard, but I'm really enjoying it. So the image which I've got up on the screen now, let me put up some viewfinder video for you somewhere so you can have a look. I'm calling it Reaching Out, and it's really about this tree on the right hand side stretching out towards the one which is coming towards it on the left, and the one on the left is broken and barren, it's stripped of its bark, and it's really reaching out. It's kind of at the end of its days. And I kind of like that really light sort of background that we've got with a glint of the woodland again on the left hand side. I'm just not sure about this negative space, all this empty area right in the middle of the frame. But as much as I move around to the left and move around to the right and actually try and find a location where I can narrow that gap, nothing's really working, because it's just the nature of the boulders and the rocks, and obviously I'm not going into the woodland either. It's all shot from the periphery. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to do this as a black and white or as a colour image. You're going to know in a minute when I put it up at the end of the video. So I'm going to put this image up and let you have a look at it. The mist is starting to lift now, and it's really clearing up, so there might be a few more images I can take. So I'm going to have a look around, and if I get any more, I'm going to share those with you quickly.
I kept with the same processing style, held to the square crop, but I can't help wonder if this photograph would be better in a traditional 4:5 or 2:3 ratio. The mist lifted, so I never got my set of 9 photographs. But I did make a set of images that captures the atmosphere of that morning. For me, that is what's most important. I'm going to write about this in my newsletter very soon, so please use the link in the description to subscribe to my newsletter. Until the next time, get out and enjoy your photography.